setting up the EQ, you select on the channel, there's this bar across, and this brings up the EQ window. You have multiple options, including a high-pass filter with 4 bands that you can work with. You have your low mid, your high mid, and your high. Starting with a high band, we have 18 dB positive and negative. We also have multiple types to work with. You select right here. We have the bell shape, shelf, and low pass filter. If you want to just remove all the high frequencies, you select the low pass filter. You can also select what is typically the stock setting is the shelf, which smooths out after your set frequency. We also have a bell shape option. This one allows you to boost or remove frequencies within a range while returning back to level. This will let you keep your high frequencies It's safe to remove the high frequencies to avoid damaging your tweeters. You can also use that to remove some of the cymbal noise on your mallet instruments, because in those frequencies you don't hear everything with the human ear. You typically want to leave about 2 octaves minimum above where you set your frequency. In the low frequency, we have bell type and shelf type. This is because you have your high pass filter underneath that. You also have 18 dB positive and negative, just like with the high frequency. In the mids, low and high, your only options are these bell shapes. You do have gain, frequency, and Q settings. Since these are all bell types, you simply change the settings, adjusting the gain, positive and negative, pick the frequency where you want the adjustment to happen. Once you find your frequency and you adjust your gain, you can adjust the slope by pressing the Q. The higher the Q number, the steeper the slope. You can also drag and drop on this particular screen. Your high pass filter will eliminate frequencies below a certain range. This is good to remove some rumble, some frame noise, and some wind noise. Again, a good rule of thumb is to set the frequency minimum 2 octaves above the highest frequency that the instrument needs. That way we have some of the overtones. In general, we want to keep the settings with the idea of gain reduction and not boosting. When you boost frequencies, you run into more issues involving feedback. So keep the idea of reducing to add clarity. So we're looking at settings for a marimba. What I find helpful is I look at the frequencies right over the microphone, and I'll add a little dip right at that frequency to make sure that the bars right over the microphone don't pop out with their position relationally to that microphone. When you dip just that frequency, you can make sure that you don't have any notes that pop out louder than others across the chromatic scale. The goal is always to create a balanced sound. So if you need more of the low end, don't do that by boosting the low end. When you do that, you're going to run into some feedback issues. It's going to get muddy. Instead of boosting the low end, you can try reducing the high end a little bit. You find your problem frequencies, and by removing some of the high end, you can make the low end more prominent in the sound. A combination of removing frequencies rather than boosting is going to provide for the clearer sound. Looking for a balanced sound is always the best option because we don't want to create muddiness by increasing frequencies rather than removing problem frequencies. A good place to start, especially if you're new at this, is with your presets. They're generally great starting points, and you can dial in the sound that you want from that. You get to that with this button in the bottom left of the screen, and that gives you all of the presets that are available in the TF. They're by categories: vocal, drums, guitars, and so forth, all the way down to some others. And what we're going to search for is a general marimba. Typically on a marimba you'll have two microphones, one for the high end, one for the low end. So because we're looking at the low marimba, we select it. Now if we have some specific microphones, this might have those microphones as preset options. So if you happen to have some Audio-Technica mics, some Audix mics, you can see if you have any of those models, and you might find presets with that microphone in mind. If you don't have one of those, the best place to start is going to be one of the general options. To select this, I highlight. I can recall the EQ, or I can recall the channel, including the name. I just want the EQ, so I'm going to select Recall EQ. You get a notification saying the parameters have been recalled, and then it's on the channel. It's that simple. Show you again. And it has copied that to channel 1 because that's what I have selected. Now that I go back, I can see that it's there. I turn off the one knob so I have more control. And you can see you have all the settings available again, and you can adjust those to dial in the sound that you're looking for. Again, the presets are a great way to start, especially if you're new to setting up your own EQ. You get some good starting places, and then you can adjust from there to get the sound that you're looking for. Next, we're going to talk about effects, so please stay tuned for that video. Thanks for watching.